Welcome to a special edition of the Ghosty Girls Podcast.
Happy Halloween.
You sounded like Grover.
Happy Halloween. Don't turn the page.
We wanted to get...
Sorry.
We wanted to get a special episode out for you guys.
Episode.
Why did I say it like that? We wanted to record a special episode for you guys for Halloween because it is our favorite day. And if you're listening to our podcast, I'm probably going to assume that it's your favorite day as well.
Yes. So you're welcome in advance. Or
Yeah.
we're sorry in advance. One of the two.
So what do you think this one's going to be about today?
Something about Halloween.
Ding, ding.
Stop it.
I know, it's
What did I
crazy,
win?
right?
What did I win?
You win a pat on the back.
Yes.
'Cause that's all I have. I'm poor. In continuing with all things Halloween October, I wanted to dedicate an episode to pay homage to the holy grail of horror films and my personal favorite horror film of all time, John Carpenter's Halloween.
The OG.
The OG. Now, I want to preface this by saying that I will be dedicating this solely to the OG Halloween, and I am not going to do a deep dive into the sequels or the shitty Rob Zombie remakes. Like, no disrespect to Rob Zombie because I love him. I saw him in concert. He's amazing. I loved The Devil's Rejects, but the reboots of Halloween, I'm sorry, they're awful. They're really, really bad.
They're really bad.
I'm sorry, Rob, but they are.
I feel bad saying that too, but
You're amazing, but the Halloween movies that you made are not. Sorry.
totally.
Totally. We'll get into that too. So for any of you listening who have been living under a fucking rock, let's get into the plot of Halloween. In a small fictional town called Haddonfield in Illinois, it's Halloween night in 1963, and a little boy named Michael Myers, dressed in a clown costume, decides to randomly grab a kitchen knife and stab his sister Judith to death. Now, she was naked and sitting at her vanity brushing her hair after bumping uglies with her boyfriend. And we all know that that is a huge no-no in the horror genre. You done fucked up, Judith. You don't do drugs. And you don't have sex if you want to survive a horror movie, okay?
And you don't wear revealing clothing.
Exactly. Yep.
In this era.
There's no rhyme or reason to the murder, and it's never explained why he does this. He just chooses violence, like most of the people that we discuss in this podcast. He is then committed to a mental institution where he becomes completely mute and won't even speak to his psychiatrist, Dr. Samuel Loomis. Dr. Loomis, despite not even having any conversations with Michael because he's fucking mute, decides that Michael is basically the devil's spawn and spends the next 15 years of his career fighting to keep Michael locked away at this institution. Staff do not take Dr. Loomis seriously, surprise, surprise, which Dr. Loomis is super pissed about. Now, it's never explained exactly why Dr. Loomis is so adamant that Michael is a demon, but spoiler alert, he's a demon. Pretty much.
Pretty much.
One rainy night, a now 21-year-old Michael Myers manages to escape the asylum by stealing the car used by Dr. Loomis and a nurse that was supposed to come and pick Michael up in order to transfer him to court to stand trial for the murders. Now, why they are transferring a mental patient in the middle of the goddamn night and why they waited until he was 21 to make him stand trial makes absolutely zero fucking sense. But we just roll with it because that's the OG Halloween. Okay.
And it's a great movie.
It is.
We don't need all the answers. We just want the movie.
Yeah. Despite all of the plot holes and shit, it's a good movie.
Fine.
It's a banger.
It's a banger.
So this brings us to October 31st, 1978. Michael uses the car to drive his ass back to Haddonfield to murder a random group of high school girls, which includes none other than babysitter Laurie Strode, played by Jamie Lee Curtis, and her two best girlfriends, who use the word totally a whopping 11 times in a 30-minute time span. Totally. The friends don't make it, but our scream queen, Jamie Lee Curtis, will not go down without a fight. And her character, Laurie Strode, survives Michael Myers and lives to fight another day and multiple, mostly shitty, aside from like maybe 2 sequels. I said what I said and I stand on it.
She does.
So now that we have the plot down, let's get into the backstory of the film. The concept of the movie Halloween was actually developed by Irwin Yablans while he was flying back from a film festival in Milan, and it was originally titled The Babysitter Murders. That was how it was marketed to none other than horror legend and icon John Carpenter. Now these two, with the help of a financier named Mustafa Akkad, began working on making the movie that we now know as Halloween. This movie only had a budget of $300,000.
God bless
I know.
them.
Now, because of the measly budget, this meant that they could not afford any big names. And they also had to work very fast. This movie shoot heavily relied on an all-hands-on-deck approach, and John Carpenter even brought in his girlfriend, Deborah Hill, to produce. And a little fun fact about Deborah Hill is that it's actually her little hand with the knife in the opening shot. And this was because they didn't have enough money to hire a kid to do that part. Deborah is also responsible for really shaping the female characters and giving them a meatier substance than most predatory horror films, which was considered pretty progressive for the time. Production was extremely rushed because of the tight budget, and the entire film was shot in about 21 days.
That's amazing.
I know.
Low budget.
I know.
And it's
it's iconic.
It's iconic.
It was shot in 21 days.
What are we doing with our lives?
I don't know. Jamie Lee Curtis has also said in interviews that the production team was mostly men who had their girlfriends there helping with makeup and wardrobe. So again, all hands on deck. And speaking of the Scream Queen herself, let's get into Miss Jamie Lee Curtis.
Shall we?
Yes, she's a fucking icon. A little fun fact about Jamie Lee is that her mother, Janet Lee, actually starred in the movie Psycho. Yeah, isn't that cool?
Yes.
Now, with Jamie Lee being the undisputed final girl, it's very difficult to imagine that this movie could have gone to a different actress. But Jamie was not the first pick for the role of Laurie Strode. It's said that John Carpenter's first choice was actually an actress named Annie Lockhart, whose mother was in the television show Lassie. Lucky for us, the stars aligned and Jamie was cast for the infamous role. Definitely helped that her mom was in Psycho and took part in that iconic shower scene, though.
Yeah.
Now, Jamie was only 19 years old at the time. She was a baby.
Aww.
Yeah.
Little guy.
It's said that in order to save money, the cast wore some of their own clothes, and Jamie Lee's Halloween wardrobe was courtesy of none other than JCPenney's and cost less than $100.
Listen, JCPenney's still slaps.
Does it? I haven't been there forever.
I mean, I dress like a granny anyway.
No, you don't. Despite the very tight budget, they did splurge a little in hiring Donald Pleasance to play Dr. Sam Loomis. John Candy was actually a name that they threw around before hiring Donald Pleasance.
Absolutely not.
I know. As much as I love John Candy, can you imagine him in a horror film like that?
Absolutely not.
No,
God
it doesn't fit. It just doesn't. Now, it's said that Donald Pleasance was not super thrilled with the role, and he didn't really appear to be that jazzed about being in a horror film. In the Netflix documentary, The Movies That Made Us, they discussed that Donald Pleasance was drinking heavily during filming and was just downing bottles of red wine before scenes, which caused a lot of stress for John Carpenter.
I'm sure.
Obviously, yeah. For his role in Halloween, Donald Pleasance was paid $20,000 for just a few days of work. In comparison, Jamie Lee Curtis only made $8,000, and Nick Castle, who was playing The Shape, which is what they called Michael Myers before he became Michael Myers, only made $25 a day. Yeah. And he also assisted on set, too. So he played Michael Myers, The Shape, and also assisted on set.
But can you imagine how much fun they had on that set?
I'm sure they had a blast.
So Jamie Lee Curtis made $8,000 total?
Total.
That's some bullshit.
It really is. Yep. For Laurie's friends, horror actress PJ Soles, who had a role as one of the mean girls in Carrie, was cast as Linda, and Nancy Loomis, who was the real-life girlfriend of Tommy Lee Wallace, who created the mask for Michael Myers, and we'll get into that in a second, She was cast as the sheriff's daughter, Annie. Now, people give PJ Soles a lot of shit for her role and being a dumb valley girl, but I personally find it hysterical.
Well, yeah, it's that comic relief
yeah,
that you need.
Yeah. She also makes light of the totally joke herself, and I've been at a couple horror conventions and have seen signed merch from her that say totally on it. And my favorite one, it was an old rotary phone, like the one that she was strangled with in the movie. And she signed that and wrote totally on it.
That's freaking adorable.
And I totally wanted that phone, but
Totally.
I know. But it was out of my price range, so it stayed there.
I get it.
Side note, Fright Rags just released a new Halloween line, and one of the shirts that they have is PJ Soles' face, and it says totally on it. Guess who ordered it?
It was you.
It was me. Now, if you're a Halloween fan, I'm sure you already know the story behind the infamous Michael Myers mask. But for those of you who don't, that mask was actually a Captain Kirk mask, aka William Shatner, that was purchased for less than $2 at a magic shop on Hollywood Boulevard by John Carpenter's friend, Tommy Lee Wallace, who was also a part of the crew. So he found this mask for cheap, took it back, and modified it to widen the eye holes for a creepier effect. He shaved off the sideburns, darkened the hair, and he added makeup to create a creepy, ghoulish-like silhouette that we all know as Michael Myers.
That we all know and love today.
Yes. Or, as he's named in the credits, The Shape. Runners-up for the infamous mask were masks of Spock, also from Star Trek, President Nixon, and a clown mask.
Could you imagine if they used a clown mask?
No, it would not be as creepy.
Nope.
It just wouldn't. It wouldn't work. A total of 6 people ended up playing Michael Myers, including Nick Castle, Tony Moran, who was a stunt double, and even Tommy Lee Wallace, who was the creator of the mask. Of course, Will Sandin was the young Michael Myers, and Deborah Hill, who we discussed earlier, played his little hand.
Aww.
So 6 people for just the original Michael Myers. And with that and the casting taken care of, filming for John Carpenter's Halloween began in the spring of 1978 in South Pasadena, California. Now, filming a Halloween movie that is supposed to take place during Halloween in a place where the seasons would absolutely change posed a bit of a problem. Obviously, this is being filmed in California in the spring, so all of the trees were green and lush. Because of this, the crew actually had to paint the leaves and continue to round them up and reuse them after scenes. They also had a big fan going to keep the leaves blowing, so it looks like a blustery fall day.
Could you imagine the people that had to run around and pick those leaves up?
You want to hear a fun story about that?
I do, yes.
A really fun fact about the leaves. None other than horror icon and legend Freddy Krueger himself, actor Robert Englund, was hired as one of the people who spread the leaves around on set. Isn't that cool?
That's awesome.
Yeah. It's like a cool little like connection between 2 classic horror films.
Man. Yeah. It's always fun when you learn those tiny little details.
Yeah.
Like,
and it
stick in your memory
yeah.
for stupid trivia.
And it really drives home the fact, like, just how much of a community the horror field is.
Yeah.
Like, there's just so many, like, connections between movies. And, of course, years later, Robert Englund would be the burned face of the Nightmare on Elm Street franchise. Mm-hmm. Now, in my opinion, the set really is something that distracts me from the movie sometimes. You can see that most of the trees are green, and you can even see a palm tree in one shot. Like, that's just me, like, I'm very detail-oriented, so things like that, I pick up immediately. I hate that I'm like that sometimes.
I would never see that in the movie. I would never notice it.
So you can't knock it too much because it was the 70s. It was super low budget. You know, they did what they could with it. Because of the time frame of filming, it was also very difficult to find pumpkins, and they only had 3 actual pumpkins for the entire movie. And if you remember, one of the pumpkins was solely for the purpose of being destroyed by Tommy Doyle when he falls on it when the kids are chasing and teasing him. So out of the 3 pumpkins, one of them was just to be destroyed. Now, lucky for them, they were able to find a South American gourd, which they look like pumpkins, but they're dark green in color. They were actually able to get a bunch of these South American gourds, and they painted them to look like actual pumpkins. So a lot of the pumpkins that you're seeing in the movie are actually not pumpkins. They are South American gourds. One of the most infamous aspects of this movie was the use of a Steadicam, which was used to film Michael's point of view shots. So this was for the iconic opening shot of little Michael Myers stabbing his sister. It just gives that very slow, steady camera effect that you're not able to get with a handheld camera. And in an era of static cameras, or the handheld cameras, Halloween was just the second movie to utilize the Steadicam. I think one thing that really stands out for me was how incredibly smooth and seamless all of the shots are, especially considering the year that the movie was made. They worked super hard on that opening shot, and it took 20 takes to get it perfect. And it's seriously perfect. It's like my favorite opening shot to a movie ever.
It really is good. Mm-hmm.
So Halloween, although technically a slasher film, was actually incredibly non-gory. Even in a scene where someone gets their throat slashed, there's no blood. There's hardly any blood at all in the movie. And instead of gore, John Carpenter wanted to rely on a more Alfred Hitchcock type approach, the horror of tension building. Now, John Carpenter was able to achieve that in just a few keystrokes, which turned into one of, if not the most iconic horror theme songs of all time.
Can I do it?
Sure.
Did I do it?
Yes, don't sue us.
I mean, that was totally off key, so I don't think we can.
It was great.
Also, side note, Alfred Hitchcock is probably one of my top faves.
Oh, yeah. He's...
Love.
I mean, it's classic. Classic. John Carpenter actually composed the song and score by himself in just 3 days using only tube synthesizers, a piano, and a recorder. And I think that everyone, even people who are not fans of the horror genre, can easily identify the Halloween theme song. It's perfect. It builds tension. It makes you feel uncomfortable. It's great.
Not to be confused with
with Jason. I also personally love the use of Blue Oyster Cult's Don't Fear the Reaper playing in the car when Annie is driving Laurie around after school. And I don't know, I just feel like when you hear Don't Fear the Reaper in a horror movie, like it just takes it up a notch. I love that song. Yeah, you know some shit's gonna go down when you hear that. It's also used in Scream when Billy climbs into Sydney's window, and also in the iconic kill scene in the movie X, which is part of the Pearl and Maxine franchise. Have you ever seen those?
No.
So good. Another little fun fact about Don't Fear the Reaper is that song inspired Stephen King to actually write The Stand, and was even used in the miniseries that was based on that book. Isn't that cool?
That's pretty awesome.
The
little details.
I know. Filming, for the most part, went pretty smoothly. The cast and crew apparently loved Jamie Lee, and they thought she was absolutely adorable. Donald Pleasance was off downing bottles of wine, but he still managed to get his lines out, and everything worked. There didn't seem to be too much drama behind the scenes. It seemed like it was pretty chill. Halloween was filmed in a matter of weeks, wrapped up, and released in a small movie theater in Kansas City. Ticket sales were abysmal, to say the least. However, once people started talking about the movie after seeing it, word spread like wildfire and Halloween blew up. It's said that the movie went viral before going viral was a thing. Like as soon as people left the theater, they were telling everyone about how amazing it was. And not only was it a great movie, it was a great experience. What really put the movie on the map was the premiere at the Chicago Film Festival, where critics saw it and immediately began praising it. Halloween was even given 4 stars by infamous film critic Roger Ebert, who likened the movie to Alfred Hitchcock's classic slasher, Psycho. According to Roger Ebert, Halloween was a, quote, visceral experience. We aren't seeing the movie, we're having it happen to us. And what was unique about Halloween is that moviegoers were really getting into this movie. They were like yelling at the characters on screen. They were screaming. It was an experience. Based on word of mouth and critic reviews, Halloween went on to become the most profitable independent film release in history. And this low-budget movie that was filmed for a mere $300,000 went on to eventually gross over $70 million.
That's awesome.
I know. Some critics of the film bashed the interpreted sexism, and it's important to note that Halloween was one of, if not the horror movie that branded the popular cliche that only the virginal good girl was the one that could survive. If you were female and you were smoking cigarettes, drinking, doing drugs, or having sex, you were 100% going to die in a horror film in the 70s, 80s, and even early 90s until, as we all know, the new modern idea of a horror film, Scream, came along and blew those rules right out of the water. And they actually made a joke out of those rules, which was amazing. Scream is another one that we'll have to cover because that movie's iconic.
And it's based on a true story.
It is. It's based on the Gainesville Ripper in Florida. Yep.
And then there was a copycat murder.
There was a copycat one where two guys murdered a girl. And the story is horrific. They actually broke into her house. I'm sorry, it wasn't her house. She was house sitting, and I believe it was for her aunt. She was house sitting their dogs. And these two, I believe they were high school kids, broke into that house and they hid. They waited for her boyfriend to leave, and then they started making noises in the house, pounding on things. And then they came out and stabbed her to death while they were wearing masks.
People are assholes.
They really are. And I guess they thought that they were both Billy Loomis, but they're both just fucking losers. Despite some of the issues that the critics had with the film, I actually think Halloween's a little more progressive than slasher films at the time because it really made a point to humanize the female characters. They had meaningful dialogue. I mean, other than the overuse of totally, but I mean, that was funny.
Yeah.
They had good personalities that you actually liked. They were likable. I felt that the female characters were pretty well developed for a horror film shot in the 70s. I mean, the bar was on the floor for horror films at that time.
Yeah, it's fair.
It's important to note that John Carpenter had always planned on Halloween to be a standalone movie, and it was never intended to become a franchise. He even said that he very much regretted the concept of Michael Myers turning into the brother of Laurie Strode. He later said that the idea came when he was heavily drinking at the time. If you rewatch the original Halloween movie, there's zero reference to the brother-sister connection or that Laurie was adopted. All of that didn't appear until Halloween 2, which takes place mainly in a hospital. I actually like Halloween 2. I don't know. I feel like it taking place in that weird hospital is super creepy. One thing that really frustrates me about the Halloween franchise as a whole is that it's constantly contradicting itself. And in the 2018 reboot, Michael and Laurie aren't even brother and sister anymore. So it's confusing. The timelines are completely fucked up. But I mean, who watches horror movies for the continuity, right?
That's true.
We come for the special effects, the makeup, and the kills.
Boom.
Despite John Carpenter's regrets and the confusing nature of all the sequels and reboots, it's pretty safe to say that this is one of, if not the most successful horror franchise in movie history. The original Halloween is so iconic, in fact, that in 2006, the Library of Congress selected the film to be added to the National Film Registry for being, quote, culturally, historically, or aesthetically accurate. They also noted the film's groundbreaking use of cinematography that was just not commonly used in the films back in the 70s. And this helped pave the way for future horror movies. And that's the story behind John Carpenter's iconic slasher and horror masterpiece, Halloween. Yeah, drop a comment down below what your favorite Halloween movie is.
Yeah.
I'm weird about Halloween movies because, like I said, the original Halloween movie, the John Carpenter one, is my favorite, and I will only allow myself to watch that once a year on Halloween. It's like a tick that I have. I can't watch, I don't want to ruin it for myself. I can only watch it on Halloween.
We watch Krampus every Christmas.
Oh, I love Krampus.
Christmas Eve, we watch Krampus. That's one of my favorite movies.
You know what we watched this Christmas Eve? We watched The Gingerbread Man. We found that movie on Shudder, and it's horrible, but it's so good.
We loved it. Have you seen Zombievers?
I started watching it, and I didn't finish it. And I don't know why I didn't finish.
Because it's that bad, but it's that good.
Okay, I'm going to have to watch it.
Quote of the movie is when a guy stands in front of a pile of logs and goes, "Eat a bag of dicks."
That's awesome.
I know. It's... Okay. I still use that all the time.
Of course.
Eat a satchel of Richards.
A satchel of Richards. I like that better.
Yeah, it is
Yeah, I have movies that I watch during certain times of the year. Like that, I watched that shitty Valentine movie around Valentine's Day. Did you ever see that?
No.
It's like it's got David is it Boreanaz? David Boreanaz?
I have no idea.
He was from like the Buffy
Oh, yeah. Love him.
He's in that.
Okay.
It's like a total like 2000s horror movie. But yeah.
I'll have to watch it.
Love
I say,
it.
oh, like it's a rom-com. Aw.
Oh, it's so cute. Everyone getting murdered and stuff for Valentine's Day.
What was the one? Oh, Death Day.
Oh my gosh, that one's awesome.
I
Happy
like
Death
that one.
Day.
Yeah, and there's a Happy Death Day 2, I think.
Yeah. They're really
great.
good. They're
I thought
really
they were
good.
going to be terrible. I loved them.
I did too. I was super surprised. Yeah.
Did you see Thanksgiving in the
Yes.
Loved it,
We
too.
saw it in the theater on Thanksgiving.
Amazing.
I'm pretty sure it was Thanksgiving night, or I don't know. It might have been the night before. I can't remember, but
Yeah.
it was so much fun, and the theater was packed. And I love seeing horror movies with legit horror fans. I know a lot of people don't like the Terrifier franchise, but I am so excited to see that in the theater. I'm so excited.
Get ready.
They like there was something on social media about like they put a sign up like at a theater that they were premiering it at, saying that medical professionals were going to be there
What?
assisting people if anyone needed it, because the movie is that gory.
Oh, I probably won't be watching that then.
Yeah, if you don't see, I'm not a huge gore person per se, but I love the special effects.
Yeah.
Like when I see a movie like that, it doesn't bother me because I don't think of it like that. I
Yeah.
think of it like, holy shit, how did they do that makeup? That's amazing.
Yeah.
Like that's how I look at it.
Yeah.
I don't know. I know some people aren't able to like separate that
Yeah.
from reality, but I love the makeup aspect and the special effects aspect of horror films.
Yeah,
Love
I
it.
mean, you know I love the special effects makeup.
Yeah, Miss Alicia over here actually did zombie movie makeup,
Oh, yeah.
and she was in a movie. I don't know if she wants to say what it was,
It's like a Z movie.
but still, she did movie for
I did movie.
she did makeup for a zombie movie. Like
Yeah, it was
that's
pretty fun.
that's
and I was in it.
amazing.
It was a cool experience. I helped them with a couple other projects too, and just
love that.
at one point, this was a different one. It was like a ninja kind of movie, and a girl steps on a guy's head and it smashes it. And,
Love it.
And what they did was they took a cantaloupe
Okay.
and they kind of took all the guts and left it in there, but mixed them all up. So
Yeah.
they kind of explode and poured red food dye in there.
That's so cool.
So you have like the stringy guts and like all that other stuff.
I
And
love that stuff.
it was pretty cool. And then they put, I want to say pantyhose used for everything.
Really?
They put a pantyhose around it so that
Okay.
they could like superimpose kind of like the face.
Oh.
And then when the boot came down, when the girl's boot came down on it, it exploded. And it was amazing.
That's so cool.
The results that they got. And then pantyhose we used as intestines in the zombie movies.
What?
Yeah, you just fill them up with a bunch of stuff, soak them in red stuff, a little
That
bit
is
of
so
Jell-O.
cool.
I mean, this is
I
like
love
movies
that.
on a budget. We didn't get paid for any of it because it was just for fun. But
I feel like that's the best. I love like the really like corny, cheesy like 70s horror movies, like Evil Dead.
yeah, oh yeah,
The makeup for that,
amazing.
it's so bad, but it's so good.
Yeah.
Like I
Yeah.
love that shit. I love it. I
You can
totally
watch the movie then. It's called
Yes.
Zombie Casserole.
Zombie Casserole, and I've never seen it before because I don't know.
It's only like 20, 30 minutes long. Like it's not
That's okay
a
though.
movie. I know. And it was, you know what? It was so much fun to be a part of it. Like just to experience that.
I know. I'm
I loved
jealous.
It was
Oh,
cool.
so awesome.
Yeah.
Yeah, drop us a line and let us know what your favorite Halloween movie is, what's your favorite scene from a Halloween movie, what's your favorite special effects. I love hearing about that stuff. I think we should do an episode about like special effects in horror films too, because
yeah,
yeah,
that'd be
you
fun.
you would
I'll
would
do
definitely.
that one. I'll look it up.
Yes.
I'll Google it.
Oh, I'm excited.
I have one more movie for you to watch too.
Oh yeah, what is it?
Lumberjack Man.
Lumberjack Man. Oh my
I think
god.
it's called Lumberjack Man. He loves pancakes. I'm just throwing that out there. Lumberjack Man.
Okay. You heard it first. Watch Lumberjack Man.
It's so bad. It's good.
Yeah, I don't know. Do you have a subscription to Shudder?
No.
It's so worth it. It's like $5 a month, and they have like tons of like Z movies and B movies, and it's just like that's one of our favorite. Me and my fiance, that's one of our favorite things to do is just on a Saturday night, just stay in and have our snacks and watch horrible horror movies that no one else has talked about or seen. Like we love that.
It is called Lumberjack Man, and you gotta watch it.
Okay. I'm putting it in my queue.
Do it. You'll watch 10 minutes and go, no.
Well, thank you guys for joining us for our bonus episode. And again, I hope you guys have an awesome Halloween.
Don't eat too much candy.
Or
do. Yeah.
Eat all of the Halloween candy.
Yes.
Then also take pictures of your Halloween costumes. If you're going to a Halloween party, or if you've got cool costumes for your kids, if you feel comfortable posting them on our Facebook page, do it. Because I love seeing people's costumes. And
we also have a Reddit now.
Yay!
It's under The Ghosty Girls. You can't miss us.
Yeah, and there's probably like no comments or anything on there, but
I just opened it today.
We got to build it up. We got to build up our following, you know?
Yeah, we love you guys. Share and subscribe and 5 stars, and we love you.
Yes, love you.
Bye. Bye.